Welcome to the Sisters of the Shire Podcast. I'm Ashley.
And I'm Abby. Oh, it's good to be back. I feel like we haven't recorded in a while.
Well, it's been like 2 weeks.
I know.
2 weeks? Yeah. Too long. Like, do you remember anything that happened?
Oh man, I do have to say, I got to share my knowledge with a guy I was sitting next to. I don't know how we got onto the conversation. Oh, we were talking about Rings of Power. And
your nerd ears went...
like, do you think that really is Gandalf? He's like, no, I don't think it's Gandalf. That means he would have been living forever. He was on Middle Earth before, like, even Frodo was there. And I'm like, excuse me.
Couldn't help but over here.
Yeah, I was like, well. So that was fun. I got to, like, blow his mind a little bit, be like, dropping some knowledge.
I'm so proud of you.
It was pretty great. I was like, actually, he's been there forever. So
we just didn't know.
Yeah. And he probably went by a different name. So
he did.
But yeah, that was fun to do. So I do remember stuff. Okay. I remember.
Okay. Well, I was just talking to my mom because my mom, she tries so hard. I know she doesn't really like love this stuff, but she's just trying to like listen to it for me, which
my mom too. My mom as well.
But she's so funny. She's like, I know, I just have to re-listen to the same episodes over and over again because I can't get the names straight. And so I'm like, okay, well, do you think that's just a you thing, or are we just not telling it in a good way? And she's like, it's a me thing. It's okay, Mom. She's a very visual person, so audiobooks and audio podcasts aren't really like her niche, but she's trying.
Yes.
She's like, I'm on the one with I'm like, that could be like half a dozen people, Mom.
Fred Trick. No, he's not one of them. Oh, okay.
Nope. No Frederick. Friedrich.
My mom, she's so sweet too. She's like, I'm trying to listen, but I just don't have the time to like sit and listen because she works a lot. But she just binged all the Hobbits and Lord of the Rings. And she was texting me questions while she was doing that. So that was fun. I mostly had to say, nope, that was just the movie. Nope, not in the books.
Yeah, unfortunately. Artistic license.
Yeah.
Well, but, also, we don't know.
Yeah. Who knows?
As Albert says, it's on the unwritten pages, or however he calls it.
Yeah. The lost pages.
Yeah.
Yeah. But they're trying. A for effort.
Go team Sisters of the Shire, Moms of the Shire.
Yeah. Mams of the Shire.
Names. So speaking of trying to remember stuff, how much do you remember of last episode?
So that was the battle episode, right? Where they're like teaming up against Morgoth. Mm-hmm. They tried to. Am I right?
Mm-hmm. It was
but there was like effort. 2 different armies.
Right.
So they were like
the East Balerian side had like Maedhros and all the sons of Fëanor, the dwarves and the groups of men that were from the east, Ulfing and Bor. And then the West Balerian side had Fingon and Gwyndor and a small group of elves from Nargothrond, Moblung and Beleg from Menegroth, and the men of Hodor, led by Hurin, and the people of Haleth, led by Haldir.
Okay. But there was also an instance where the men kind of switch sides to Morgoth's side. Am I wrong?
Nope, that's right. So the battle plan was to have East Balerion march across the Anfoglith, the gasping dust, to draw out Morgoth, and then the West Balerion army would kind of sneak attack after Maedhros signaled them. And then Morgoth would be stuck in the middle. Attack! And yes, unfortunately, the men of Ulfing did turn on Maedhros and were working for Morgoth the whole time.
The whole time.
So Maedhros didn't march out when he was supposed to because they kept sending them false reports of what was happening. So while Fingon was waiting, Turgon, his brother, showed up with the Gondolin army, which is awesome. Family reunion.
It's like that scene in The Hobbit where, like, cousin, how you been? Like... Well, they're like slashing orcs and stuff.
No, I'm thinking of Balin and Dwalin's reunion when they meet in Bilbo's house. Okay, so if dwarves butt heads, what do elves do? Do they do like a hair flip?
That's what I was thinking.
Toss.
Yeah. No, it's like the like but they're like not even close to each other. That kind of like
yes
cheek.
No, they do the parent trap handshake.
Yeah.
So an orc army suddenly shows up in front of Fingon and Turgon and all the other West Balerian soldiers, and they bring out Gwyndor's brother, who everyone had thought was died when he went on the quest with Beren and our Captain Balerion, Finrod Felagund. Mm-hmm. Remember, they went to get the Silmaril with Beren, and they went to the Isle of Werewolves, and, you know, they all thought he died. Well, turns out he's not dead. He was just a thrall the whole time. And they basically brought him out in front of everyone, the brother, and just mutilated him and killed him in front of everyone, basically riling them up. And yeah, Gwyndor and a small force attack the small orc army, and then they're just so amped up and so angry. They just keep on going to Angband, but they kind of outrun the rest of the army. So by the time they actually get to the doors of Morgoth's throne room, they were too separated, and Morgoth's reinforcements from within Angband were just right there and attacked and killed everyone except for Gwyndor, who they took prisoner. So Fingon was forced to attack a little earlier than expected and tried to back him up, but when Morgoth's reinforcements came out from Angband, it was too much. They had to retreat, and while they were retreating, Fingon's rear guard, Haldir and the people of Haleth, were killed. Then Fingon and Hurin were surrounded, which is when Turgon and the Gondolin army decides to join in the fight. They kind of stayed back. Turgon just manages to get to his brother Fingon and reunite with his friend Hurin. Bro! Bestie! But they're still surrounded and outnumbered, and this is when Maedhros arrives. But Morgoth's whole goal with this battle is to not let them unite. So this is when he just unleashes all of his bad guys, all the orcs, all the Balrogs, all the dragons, and just keeps them separated.
Emptied his kingdom.
Yes. And this is when it's finally made plain that the men of Ulfing have actually been working with Morgoth, and this is when they switch sides. And they even bring in more Easterling men from the hills that were kind of waiting for this switch to attack as well. So with this being attacked...
Order 66.
Yes. So with the Sons of Fëanor basically being attacked on, almost all sides, they're forced to separate and flee. The last ones standing on the Eastern Balerian army are the dwarves, who put up quite the fight with Glaurung, the dragon, due to their superior metal masks, which protects them from the flames.
Amazing.
But sadly, the dwarf lord, Osgol, managed to die. But he did manage to get in a good blow in Glaurung's belly, which made him flee back to Angband. So Glaurung was forced to retreat, but sadly Osgol died in the process, and his dwarves carried him off the battlefield and retreated from the fight as well. So the only ones left on... Yes?
Okay, finish what you're saying, but then I have a question about dwarves. The only ones left on the battlefield is...
Fingon, Turgon, and Hurin. And now they're facing all of Angband, basically. Fingon is attacked by Gothmog, Lord of Balrogs, and sadly dies in the process. I can't decide if his death is worse than Finrod's, because, I mean, Finrod, it was like no one witnessed it. It wasn't in like the glory of battle, but Fingon, they like stamped him into the ground.
Which makes me so sad. I wish Finrod had a more, I don't want to say glorious death.
No, but yeah, honorable. I mean, it was honorable because he was
honorable.
Yeah.
Death. But I wish that because his character was so awesome and so beloved that it's sad to say, I wish he died a cooler way instead of by himself in a dark hole being ripped to shreds by a werewolf. Like, I wish that he was like sword in hand, riding on the back of a horse.
You want him to have a Fingolfin death where he duels Morgoth.
Yeah. Where he's not stripped of, like, he's like naked and in a muddy hole and sad.
Yeah.
I wish that he had a
more epic death.
Yeah, epic, but what's the word of like honorable? I don't know. But you know what I mean.
Glorious, yeah.
Yeah.
And you know what? I just thought about it. In the Rings of Power show, it doesn't really go into detail how he dies. She just says that, you know, he was killed by Sauron. But maybe she didn't know because it was only witnessed by one person, and then Beren did all of his things and he went into hiding, basically. He went off grid. So maybe not a lot of people knew how he died. They just knew Sauron had something to do with it.
What did he do with the body?
I don't know. Oh, no, they buried it on the Isle.
Yeah. But so that's one thing the Rings of Power didn't get correct. Anyway. But
but just the secrecy and the mystery of his death, it just makes me wonder, like, if they were trying to like tie that in. Because not a lot of people knew how he actually died.
Just a quick question. I don't want to get off on a super long tangent because we haven't even gotten into the actual episode yet.
We are the queen of tangents, Happy.
So I know elves are immortal in the sense of if nothing harms them, they can live for a really long time. Practically forever. Mm-hmm. And mortal men are mortal. Mm-hmm. They live the timeline of a mortal man. Mm-hmm. Elderly, then dies. Mm-hmm. What is the timeline of a dwarf?
So I want to say it's maybe similar to like the Dunedain, maybe, where they just were gifted with long life. I wonder what the story is behind that with Aule. Why he decided to do that? Because mortality was supposed to be like a gift to men. Like that they didn't have to live forever, which...
Because I see that dwarves age.
Yes, and they do die of old age. That is a thing.
Yeah.
But they just definitely do live longer than men.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
But, for example, in the Rings of Power show, Durin's dad, I think he's called, like, Durin the Undying or something like that. Like, he lived longer than even he was supposed to, than, like, most dwarves do.
Yeah.
Anyways, so Hurin, Turgon, and Fingon is now dead. So Hurin and Turgon are the only ones left on the battlefield. And seeing that the battle is pretty much lost, Hurin tells Turgon, you guys need to go. You're the only chance of fighting against Morgoth, and it's not going to be today. So retreat, go back to Gondolin while you still can, and keep it a secret. Gather a greater force to fight another day. So unwillingly, Turgon and the Gondolin army leave.
I really wanted one of them to say, like, tell my wife I love her. And then you tell her yourself. And then he like throws him over his shoulder, takes him home.
That would be amazing. Hurin and his brother Huor are the last ones on the battlefield until Huor gets a fatal arrow to the eye. And then Hurin is taken alive, but definitely puts up a fight on his way back to Angband. I think it says something like he was taken in mockery. So it was my imagination of like when you're trying to take your toddler away from a park or something like that, when they're like struggling and fighting, you just basically like hold them behind you, like upside down by like a leg, you know, like just come on.
Yeah.
But then we both decided that Balrogs are flame, so that would hurt. So probably not, but funny imagery.
Yeah.
And then Morgoth really wants to know the location of Gondolin because he's really scared of Turgon. And he knows that Hurin knows, but Turin doesn't tell him anything and even like mocks him in the process. So Morgoth says, oh, you're going to mock me, huh? Well, I'm going to chain you to a chair in these high mountains overlooking Middle Earth, and I'm even going to give you supervision and super hearing, and then I'm going to curse your bloodline and you can just watch it all happen.
What a curse, man.
Yeah. Then Fingon's former territory of HELM, which is in the far north, is then given to the treacherous group of men under Ulfang, although Ulfang himself was actually killed in battle. Then some of the elves fled to the havens on the western coast to find protection with Círdan and the Falas, the shipbuilders, the kind of surfer Tilliri dudes. However, they were quickly attacked, the havens were destroyed. Only a small group of elves, including Círdan and Fingon's son, Gil-galad, who he was kind of fostering, they managed to escape by sea and form a new refuge on an island off the northern coast called the Isle of Baelor. Then Turgon then asked, will you try one more time, Círdan, to try sailing to Valinor for help? And it doesn't work. No one makes it. And then Morgoth decides that he wants a tidy, dominated land, so he has all the orcs clean up the battlefield on Anfoglith. And it was like a hill that could be seen from afar.
Like uniforms.
No, they're all in like French-made outfits.
Yeah. Would you look at the state of this? Oh my gosh, it's like they don't even care. Did you get blood on this? Oh my gosh, this is never going to come out. It's never going to come out.
So that's where we left things.
So sad and dreary, like always.
Yep.
Nice.
Welcome to the Silmarillion. So this next chapter that we're going to be starting this week, I'm not going to lie, it's pretty long. Like I said when we talked last time, it's even longer than the Beren and Luthien chapter. So it'll be definitely split into multiple parts. But I do want to say it is a very important story to the Silmarillion. And of course, it's going to be epic. I mean,
it has to be.
It has to be. And in fact, like Beren and Luthien, they made an entire lay or poem song about this story. And it's actually the longest one in all of elf lore.
Wow.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think of a human song that could equivalent to that.
I don't know.
Like, there's just some sick lyre solo in between.
Isn't a Queen song really long? I'm trying to remember. I don't know.
I'll figure it out.
Okay. But I do want to point out before we start this, kind of like with Beren and Luthien, there actually is an entire separate book that just goes into this section, this storyline. It's called The Children of Hurin. I actually bought it one time when I was in an airport and I just never got around to reading it. So I have not read it, and I imagine it goes into more detail regarding the events of this chapter. I will read it one day, maybe after this one or, along the line somewhere in this. But, if I'm telling the story and I'm missing a part or I ask a question and it's obviously answered in that one, great, but I didn't read that one. I'm just solely going off of the Silmarillion chapter. So
that makes sense.
This is it, and that is that. Okay, so before we meet Turin, the hero of our chapter, hero or villain, we will find out. First, we are going to meet his mother. His mother's name is Morwen Elethwen.
Okay.
Elethwen. Morwen means dark-haired maiden, and Elethwen means elf maiden or elf sheen. Because although she is a mortal woman, she is known to have an elf-like gleam to her eyes. Yeah. Cool.
Special.
Yeah. And she is the house of Beor.
Okay. One of the house of men.
Correct.
Top.
Like
ones.
Yep. One of the Edain. The elf friends. So Morwen's father, and this is going to get a little confusing, but I just want to tie in this family tie so it'll make sense later. Morwen's father was named Beregund, and he was actually among the outlaws that included Barahir, who was actually Beregund's uncle, and Beren. Remember, Beren was living with those outlaws in Dorthonion until they were
Whenever
betrayed
you mention the outlaws and you mention a new character, I always in my head picture like a a new Western movie where it like shows them and it's like ka-cha, and it like freeze frames on them doing something cool, and then their name like flies in on the bottom, like this is who this is.
Yes, 100%. So he was among the outlaws that included Barahir, who is Baragon's uncle, and Baron, who I was having trouble finding the connection. But if Barahir is Baragon's uncle and Barahir's son is Baron, that would make Baragon and Baron cousins.
Yeah.
Right? Okay. So
maybe like
that connection is important later.
Okay.
Maybe second. Yeah, they're somehow related, maybe by a cousin, some kind of a cousin. So important connection to Baron.
Okay.
We have already met Turin's father, Hurin, but just to review, Hurin means vigorous heart, and he was of the house of Hodor, one of the other Edain houses. The men of the house of Hodor were given a land called Dor-Lomin. We might have mentioned it before, but it's kind of in the north. This land was previously Fingolfin's, but after he died in his duel with Morgoth, his son Fingon, who was the new king, gave them the land. Because it's nice to be able to choose your own neighbors, as HELM, which is Fingon's territory, is directly north of Dor-Lomin. So they're neighbors in the north.
Okay.
So Turin's mom is Morwen of the house of Beor, and Turin's dad is Hurin of the house of Hodor.
Okay.
Okay. With me so far?
Yes.
Okay. So now we're going to find out about Turin. Turin was born in the land of Dor-Lomin, and his name means he who desires mastery, which is interesting. Foreboding. And 2 years after Turin was born, Morwen gave birth to his sister, Lalife, which means laughter.
Oh, cute.
Yes. And Turin loved his sister. They were very close, but sadly, a plague came to their land.
No.
Quote, born on an evil wind from Angband.
No.
She died at the age of 3. Yeah.
No.
So already not the best start for Turin. So he is 5 when his little sister dies.
No.
Yeah.
I don't
And
like
unfortunately, more tragedy is going to come to this family in the years to come, because now we are kind of rewinding a bit here in history, but now we're kind of coming up to present day, because now we're up to the Battle of Unnumbered Tears.
Okay.
The land of HELM to their north, formerly Fingon's, but Fingon had just died in the Battle of Tears. Now it's going to be occupied by the House of Ulfing, the Easterlings, the ones that betrayed Maedhros.
Oh no.
Yeah, so now you got these bad guys right to the north of you. Quote, those days were evil, for the Easterlings that came into HELM despised the remnant of the people of Hodor, and they oppressed them and took their lands and their goods and enslaved their children.
Oh no.
Yeah.
Oh no.
So, again, remember, HELM was formerly ruled by Fingon, but he and most of his people had died in the Battle of Unnumbered Tears. Dor-Lomin, their current land, which is just to the south of them, was formerly ruled by Hurin, but he is now currently a prisoner in Angband, literally chained to a chair, and Huor, his brother, had died in the battle. So the people of Hodor have no one to protect them.
Oh.
There's no leadership right now. Except, quote, so great was the beauty and majesty of the Lady of Dor-Lomin. This is the Lady of Dor-Lomin being Turin's mom, Morwen, that the Easterlings were afraid and dared not to lay hands upon her or her household, and they whispered among themselves, saying that she was perilous and a witch skilled in magic and in league with the elves.
She was too beautiful that scared them.
Yes. Yeah.
Such a
So
fierce...
basically,
I want to be that way. Like, I don't physically do anything. They just like look at me and they're like, we're good. We're going to stay over here.
yeah.
You're too intimidating.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, basically she was so beautiful and majestic that the Easterlings were afraid of her and like, oh, she must be a witch.
She had really big shoulder pads on.
So
she had
for those of you,
business suit, a blazer that was too powerful.
So, well, I was going in a different direction because in my head, I know you probably haven't seen it because it's rated R, is 300. And I can't think of her name. She's also in Game of Thrones, but I like her more for her character in 300. But the king's wife in 300, she kind of just has this like fierce look about her. She's beautiful, but she's just fierce.
Okay.
So that's kind of what I'm picturing. I'll send you a picture of her later. So of course, Morwen wasn't actually a witch, you know, as far as we know. But she was very resourceful and she was actually really brave. Because without any powerful allies, she was able to rule Dor-Lomin by herself. And she did have some secret help from a relative of her husband named Aaron.
Aaron?
It's spelled different, but yeah, like it threw me off. Like, wait, Aaron? Like Aaron?
A normal name?
Yeah. It's Aerin. So not quite.
What?
Aerin.
Oh.
Aaron.
Aaron.
Yeah.
Aaron.
So this Aaron was actually married to one of the Easterlings named Brada. So she is kind of on the enemy side, but not really. It said that he took her to wife. So I don't imagine it was like a love affair, you know?
Yeah.
So she helped Morwen in whatever way she could.
Okay.
So Turin is only 8 at this time, but with all the other children in Dor-Lomin being taken as slaves by the Easterlings, Morwen is getting kind of scared. And she decides that the best thing for Turin is to send him away in secret. But where is she going to send him? You know, she doesn't have a ton of allies outside of Dor-Lomin.
Yeah.
But she does have one, and it's someone you're not going to expect.
An eagle.
Imagine he'd actually do a pretty good job.
Yeah.
It's
just picks them up one day.
It's actually King Thingol.
Oh.
Who's usually a jerk face, but
and I don't think didn't he not like humans?
Yes.
Humans?
He didn't like men. But with Thingol and Baron now being related by marriage and Morwen's father being some kind of a cousin with Baron, she has a very light, but a connection. And especially since Thingol had his change of heart about Baron and most men, he became more open-minded when it came to friendships with the houses of men.
Okay.
So he's had his change of heart. His heart grew 2 sizes. And so Morwen had Turin at the age of 8, secretly taken from Dor-Lomin with 2 guards to go to Menegroth, to King Thingol. Now,
do you think he understood, like, oh, I don't want to get kidnapped?
I think so. I mean, it doesn't say a lot of his thought process here. But I mean, taken away from your mother at the age of 8, I'm obviously thinking of that one scene in Star Wars Episode 1, Phantom Menace. Will I ever see you again? What does your heart tell you? But I mean, he's already had a sister taken away from him at the age of 5. Now he's being taken away from his mother at the age of 8. So, I mean, not the best upbringing that he could have asked for, but
having little kids who are I have a 9-year-old and a 7-year-old. So like,
Okay, I was trying to remember how old Fox was. Yeah.
they're around that age. Nope.
Yeah.
I mean, if it was going to save his life and I knew it was going to
Right.
help him, oh my gosh. No,
Yeah.
my mom heart. No way. That would be so hard. But if I knew it was going to save his life and he was going to be okay, I would have to do it, right? But
Oh, and
no.
think of this also coming from Morwen's perspective. So she just sends off her son. And just after he leaves, she gives birth to a daughter named Nienor, which means mourning. Like, as in, like, sadness. So whether that's mourning for the loss of her first daughter or the loss of Turin or both,
all
you know,
her
it doesn't say,
children
but yeah. But I mean, can you imagine? I mean, the pregnancy hormones alone.
Yeah. Oh, man.
Yeah. So meanwhile, Turin and his guards, they had quite a rough journey getting to Doriath, which is Thingol's land. But when they get there, they meet up with a elf that we have met before, but we're now going to get to know him pretty well.
Derek from
Our
the
man.
band.
He died, remember?
Oh, dang it.
Beleg Strongbow. And
Oh.
Beleg basically means great or mighty. And not a lot is said about Beleg in his early life, but he was the chief of King Thingol's march wardens, his like border guards, basically.
Okay.
So when Turin arrived in Menegroth, explained what has been going on, Thingol accepted him immediately. Quote, and took him even to his own fostering in honor of Hurin the Steadfast, for Thingol's mood was changed towards the houses of the elf friends. Now, when I read that, I was a little confused because as far as I am aware and was able to research, Thingol hasn't met Hurin. So I don't know why he's taking him in honor of him, but maybe like he heard stories of him from the battle, or maybe Baron had even told him about Hurin.
He had to have his token small human man in his kingdom. It's like, dang,
I heard everyone else is getting one. This is mine.
Yeah. They're very in right now.
Yeah. So Thingol takes Turin as his foster son, and he even sends back messengers back to Dor-Lomin, to Morwen, telling her, you know, it's safe. I've got your son. You should come here too. You know, come live with me in safety as well. I'll take care of you. Mm-hmm. But she actually takes the harder path. You know, this is where I get the sense that she's actually quite brave and strong. Instead of living with Thingol in safety, she chooses instead to stay in Dor-Lomin. She does not want to leave the house that she had with Hurin. And I imagine she doesn't want to leave any of the people that, you know, were there. They would have no one then. Absolutely no one.
And she has a baby.
And she has a baby. But she doesn't leave the messengers exactly empty-handed. Morwen sends them with a special gift for Turin.
The baby.
Not the baby.
Dang it.
Although that would have made this story a lot better if it, in hindsight. You'll find out later. But anyways, the greatest of the heirlooms of the House of Hodor, she gives him the dragon helm of Dor-Lomin.
Whoa.
So we're going to make a quick detour here because I know you want to know more about this dragon helm.
Yes.
And yes, I do want you to make this for me one day. So this famous dragon helm was made by the renowned dwarf smith Telkar. Do you remember our man Telkar, or our dwarf Telkar?
Was he the one who made the dragon saving helmets before?
He might have. It doesn't specify that. But, you know, I'm a little sad for Telkar. He doesn't get as much glory for his works as he should, because his items have been monumental in the Tolkien universe. He made the dagger Angrist that Baron used to pry off a Silmaril from Morgoth's crown. He made the sword Narsil that would later be wielded by Elendil and then Isildur to cut off the One Ring from Sauron's finger. And now this awesome dragon helm.
There needs to be a museum of him.
Right? And now you have actually seen this dragon helm before, but you probably didn't know what it was at the time.
Okay.
And you actually brought it up fairly recently because in the Rings of Power show, when Durin's kids are playing with the statue heads, one of them is actually wearing the dragon helm.
The statue head thing? Mm-hmm. Oh.
But in case you don't remember what that looks like, here's a description of what it looked like that I found on TolkienGateway.net. Quote, "The dragon helm was crafted for a dwarf by a dwarf and was too large and heavy for an elf. Even men found the helm was too massive, and only Hodor and some of his descendants had the strength to wear it. The Helm of Hodor was a gray steel helm with a visor that was made in the fashion of dwarves so as to shield the eyes of the wearer. The helm was embossed and embellished with gold and graven runes of victory, and bore defiantly upon its crest, so upon the top, a gilded image of Glaurung. It was said that a power lay upon the runes that protected its wearer from wounds and struck fear into the hearts of enemies, turning back swords and darts."
Wow. Cool. But also, they didn't need to be that heavy.
Okay, I have a joke about this. Okay, let me continue, and then, yeah, we'll get to the heaviness. So the dwarfsmith Telkar made this helm for, actually, our Lord Osgol that we already met. And sadly just died in the Battle of Unnumbered Tears. Now, you might be wondering, if he made it for Osgol, then why wasn't he wearing it at the battle? He might have even, not died in the battle if he was wearing it.
He would have lived.
Yeah, maybe. Who knows? But this is what we know about the timeline of the dragon helm. And I have to tell you, when I was trying to figure this out, I had like 6 tabs open, like cross-referencing, like trying to figure it out. So
you have a board that has like yarn going from one picture to the other.
I should have. So this is what I know, and I'm hoping one day when I read The Children of Hurin, it will explain it better. But this is what I know. So Telkar makes the dragon helm, gives it to Osgol shortly after Glaurung's first appearance. Remember when he was just a baby dragon during the siege of Angband? And back then, Fingon was able to wound him enough to send him running back to Angband. He was just a baby. And then just Morgoth got all mad at him.
Yes.
So I'm not sure if you remember that. That was a long time ago. But it was basically that first arrival, the first ever dragon appearance. This is when Telkar makes the dragon helm for Osgol. Then, while traveling the roads in East Beleriand, Osgol and some of his dwarves were set upon by orcs. But Maedhros happened to be nearby, and his people came to their rescue. So, in gratitude for saving his life, Osgol gave Maedhros the dragon helm. And it doesn't exactly say when this happened, but it also could have been like a gift to seal their alliance for the upcoming Battle of Unnumbered Tears. Hard to say, but possibly. But this is also going with my joke in my head that I'm like, he couldn't wear the helmet. It was too heavy. So let me give you this gift.
Yeah.
But then Maedhros even hands off the helm because sometime between this incident and the Battle of Unnumbered Tears, Maedhros gifts the dragon helm to his cousin and bestie, Fingon, possibly in memory of Fingon's earlier quote-unquote defeat of Glaurung. Like, remember this guy? Wasn't that so cool when you defeated him? But yeah, this helm's too heavy for my head too, so you take it.
Yeah.
And then, when Fingon gave the House of Hodor the lands of Dor-Lomin, the ones just south of him, he gave the dragon helm to Hodor in celebration of their friendship.
Okay.
So the elves just can't handle wearing this thing.
Yeah.
They just keep passing it around.
It clashes. Oh, it clashes with my outfit. In my brain, it reminds me of the scene in Shrek where they're like going, they finally make it to Duloc, the Lord Farquaad's kingdom, and that guy's wearing that giant
I
head.
just want to talk to you.
And it's like,
That's pretty funny.
that's what I think of this helmet being so big and so heavy for anybody else to wear. That this,
I like that.
It looked like that in my head. I mean, it's probably beautiful. I did look up pictures of like artist renditions of what it looked like.
It's beautiful. But like intimidating though too. It's supposed to be like the masks that like scare people.
Yeah, but all the artist renditions don't look very heavy. They don't look very big.
Right.
Like, it doesn't look like an elf couldn't wear it, but
right.
Whatever.
So after, and it's, I just keep thinking it's like the white elephant gift that no one wants. Like they just keep like bringing it back to the white elephant party every year.
It has another tag, like to and from tag, like stuck.
Yeah.
Like there's just layers of like, here, this is from me. And then they peel it off and they're like, wait, someone gave it to you.
Yeah. So this became the heirloom of the House of Hodor. In fact, Hodor and his son Galdor wore the dragon helm often in combat, and their troops even gained morale when they saw the massive crest towering above the other helms in battle.
Wow. So it is big. I would have to assume
it's pretty
that
big.
It's like...
Yeah. But apparently, Galdor's son was Hurin. Apparently, he didn't wear it because he was kind of shorter and smaller in stature than his father and grandfather. So he didn't want to wear it because it made him feel like small.
But dwarves are small. It would have been okay.
But he kept it all the same and to pass on, through his line. So now we are joining back with our original story. Detour over. As Morwen takes the dragon helm and passes it on from Hurin to his son Turin. So, back to our story. So, Turin grew up in the kingdom of Menegroth, and he grew, quote, fair and strong. But he was, quite understandably, quote, marked with sorrow.
Oh, well, yeah.
Yeah. So, he's lived in Menegroth for 9 years now, so he's about 17. And in that time, he has missed his mother horribly. But
it's Anakin.
No. But over the years, he was able to send her messages. And that sorrow that was within him was slowly fading as he was able to hear of things in Dor-Lomin getting better for them. But one day, the messages stopped.
Oh, no. It is going to be an Anakin situation.
Kind of. Quote, then Turin was filled with fear for his mother and his sister, and in grimness of heart he went before the king and asked for mail and sword. And he put on the dragon helm of Dor-Lomin and went out to battle on the marches of Doriath, and he became the companion in arms of Beleg. So I find this understandable but kind of weird. Like, he's so worried about his mother and sister and he wants to join the fight, but instead of going straight to his mother and sister as maybe Anakin would have, he actually just joins the border guard with Beleg. But maybe that's like literally as far as he could go. Like, he just kept getting caught up in the battles there or something. I don't know. Maybe Beleg was kind of like tricking him, because I will say later Beleg kind of takes him under his wing. So maybe Beleg was like, I actually need you to do this around here. Oh, and I also need you to do, like, just trying to get him to stay around.
Yeah.
So Turin fights on the borders of Doriath for a total of 3 years. So he's now 20. And when he returns to Menegroth, he's a bit wild looking. Quote, but he came from the wild and was unkempt, and his gear and garments were wayworn. Okay. Understandable.
Yeah.
But he's also in an elf kingdom, and you know how elves are in their presentation. Because there is an elf named Zyros in Menegroth. And he's kind of a higher up elf. He's, a counselor to the King Thingol. He's more of a politician. But for some reason, he is just really jealous of Turin. He sees this dirty mortal who Thingol favors, for no good reason. Just jealous. So when Turin enters Menegroth, all wild and dirty, Cyros says to him, quote, "If the men of HELM are so wild and fell, of what sort are the women of that land? Do they run like deer clad only in their hair?"
Rude.
Yeah. Rude. So, obviously not the nicest thing to say to someone, but especially bringing up the women of his people like that, especially knowing how bad Morwen is. Nuh-uh.
I could hear them, him and his elf buddies, yeah.
So, obviously, Turin is having none of this. Not my mama. You don't be talking about my mama like that. So, quote, "Then Turin, in great anger, took up a drinking vessel and cast it at Cyros, and he was grievously hurt." So when I first read that, I pictured Turin just throwing a cup at him, and then reading that he was grievously hurt. I'm what a wimp. But looking back, it says drinking vessel. If you just Google the words drinking vessel, it comes up with everything from decorative Viking horns to the jeweled goblets that look like the Holy Grail. So maybe, but guy's still a win.
Yeah.
So
I'm telling Daddy
the next
about
day
this.
after my father will hear about this. The next day after this drinking vessel incident, Turin is just walking on his way out from Menegroth to go and rejoin the border guard when Cyros tries to sneak attack him. But okay, dude, he is a soldier. You are a politician. How did you think this was gonna go here? Quote, "But Turin overcame him and set him to run, naked as a hunted beast through the woods."
Oh my gosh.
How did he get naked?
Oh my gosh.
But then, it's going to take a turn. Quote, "Then Cyros, fleeing in terror before him, fell into the chasm of a stream, and his body was broken on a great rock in the water."
Oh no.
That escalated quickly.
Jeez.
I mean, it doesn't sound like this Cyros guy was the brightest elf that ever lived. I mean, survival of the fittest. That's all I'm going to say.
Gaston.
Maybe he was not meant to live.
He's like Gaston. He just chose crappy choices and then he fell off a cliff.
Mm-hmm. Luckily for Turin, though, other elves, including our old buddy Moblung, had apparently heard the commotion and saw what had happened. So
Witness.
Moblung urges... Yeah, witness. Always get that witness. So Moblung urges Turin, just tell Thingol what happens. Face your judgment. Clearly it was an accident, or at the worst, a prank gone horribly wrong. Maybe he'll pardon you.
Maybe.
Quote, "But Turin, deeming himself now an outlaw and fearing to be held captive, refused Moblung's bidding. Darn, autocorrect. Bidding. And turned swiftly away."
Oh. So
It just makes me think of that part in Home Alone when he's like, "I'm a criminal."
Yeah.
When he's accidentally shoplifted the toothbrush.
Yeah. "I'm a criminal. Take me to jail."
Turin, he thinks he's a criminal. No one can possibly forgive him for this terrible mistake. He runs away. But instead of running into, I don't know, a Timon and Pumbaa, I don't know. There's another instance that this reminds me of, and I can't quite put my finger on it. No, they won't understand. I killed him. Just over dramatic, but no, it was clearly an accident.
Yeah.
I cannot think of what it reminds me of. Someone think of it and tell me. So instead of, I don't know, forming himself better, going back and, righting the wrong, running into a Timon and Pumbaa and, eating bugs for the rest of his life, he decides to join a gang.
Oh no, don't fall into that percentile of sad children who fall into gangs.
Yep. Quote, he joined himself to a band of such houseless and desperate men as could be found in those evil days lurking in the wild, and their hands were turned against all who came in their path. Elves, men, and orcs.
Oh gosh. Ruh-roh.
So,
fell into a bad crowd.
Yeah. And this is actually where I'm going to stop for today.
Do they have a cool gang name?
No, they don't, actually. I know, right?
It's very... Yeah, what movie is that? Where he, like, runs away and he joins...
There is a movie, yeah.
Joins a... Not a gang, but something like that.
Yeah, I cannot quite put my finger on it.
So he is super sad. I honestly think he joined the guard as, like, a distraction to get all his feelings out.
Yeah.
That he could go beat something up.
Yeah.
And he get paid for it.
That's a good way of putting it. I don't know.
But...
Do elves get paid? Do they believe in money?
They trade skincare products.
Yeah. Well, obviously, Turin wasn't using any of his.
Yeah.
So yeah, first look at Turin. What are your thoughts?
Well, I mean, he's given the whole troubled childhood, gonna grow up, join a group of sad other people who probably had horrible childhoods, and we're gonna be awful to people for no reason. He's giving that like storyline, statistic situation.
Yep.
So I hope that his lineage of his mom being so cool, like, helps pull him out of it so he can be the main character person that Tolkien probably is going to write him to be. But right now he's not there. He's not there. He's just a little punk. He's just a little punk with a broken heart and a broken home, and he's orphaned. Not orphaned, but he thinks he's orphaned, and
Right.
he thinks he's mad at the world. No one understands.
Yep.
But I'm excited to know how he gets to be a better person, because I don't think...
Or will he be a better person, Abby? Or will he be a better person? He's cursed.
You know, I always have hope.
I know. I'm the pessimist in our relationship.
So I'm interested to see
Yeah.
how that goes.
So I don't know how many parts yet. I'm thinking at least 3, but we'll see.
And let's come up with a cool... By next episode, we gotta come up with a cool...
Name for these outlaws.
Name for these. No, they're not the outlaws. The outlaws are the cool other, like,
True.
cowboy group.
Right. They're
This
rebels without a
group-
cause.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Does the name of the boys who turn into donkeys in Pinocchio have a name?
No. Idiots. I don't know.
Or the street urchins from Oliver and Oliver Twist?
Oh, they do have a name. Vagrants.
Yeah. Street urchins.
Or what's
Or rapscallions.
no, what is that guy from New Girl called? Street youth.
Yeah, I say that all the time.
What is that guy?
Youths.
The character's name, I forget.
Schmidt.
Schmidt, thank you.
Youths.
Street youth.
There's a scene in 30 Rock too where she's like outside, and then it's like, I think it was like 2 a.m. or something, and she like turns around and there's like teenagers. She's like, "Ah, street youths." She just like runs inside. Well, thank you for teaching me today.
You're welcome. Did you know we got a new country?
Okay, I always guess the continent. I'm gonna say Europe.
This time, you go with your previous guess. What was your guess last time?
Asia?
Uh-huh. And what's funny is I didn't realize this. This just tells you how out of touch I am with the real world. I know everything about Tolkien's universe. Do I know anything about our actual universe? Nope. So when I saw this, I was like, wait, they have their own flag? They're listed as their own separate country? And my husband's like, where have you been? It's Hong Kong. Did you know that Hong Kong has its own... It's listed as its own country, has its own flag and everything?
Yes, I did know that, but I did know that I think that happened like in our lifetime. Like, I don't think that's like been forever.
But still, it should be. I should know it more.
It's confusing.
Yeah.
It's confusing.
Yeah.
There's a Disneyland there.
So welcome, Hong Kong listeners. And I did want to say, who's climbing up? Belgium. You came out of nowhere, Belgium, but you're climbing up the ranks.
Oh.
Yeah. And you might have seen our announcement on Instagram, but we have officially hit 2,000 followers on Instagram. So
That's
yay.
amazing.
Thanks for being a part of
That's
our
amazing.
sisterhood, brotherhood, friendship.
That's so great. Thank you.
And then also our episode with Brian at TV Trivia Pod released this week too. So go and listen to that where we kill it. I'm doing Peter Pan trivia. And I'll have maybe Abby post something about that as well.
I don't know when we'll add that to our library, but
next time we have a vacation or something. But for now, you can go listen to it at TV Trivia Pod.
Yes, it's the Peter Pan episode. But you know what? Listen to all his other episodes. They're pretty great.
He's doing a whole Disney thing right now. I'm kind of offended we're not doing all of them, to be honest.
Oh, can I tell you how many I wanted to do Encanto. I wanted to do Emperor's New Groove. I wanted to do Hercules.
Yeah, I think he's doing Hercules this week.
Oh.
Yeah. Yeah. Also, we are in the process of getting a Patreon. We are just needing to put the final touches on it, but once it's all pretty and perfect, we will post that as well. And we'd love for you to contribute in whatever way you can. Whatever support you could give is
and if it's not monetary right now, you know what else helps us? Just sharing it, just talking about it to your friends, and
or rating,
suggesting and rating, and throwing it out there on your Instagram stories or whatever. That's awesome. That's a great way to help us out.
Yes.
There are different wonderful ways that you can support us.
Yes.
And we love all of them.
So until next week, I've been Ashley.
And I'm Abby. And thanks for joining us today. And we'll see you next time. Bye.
Bye.